general public may not realize that besides carbon dioxide as a long-lived and powerful greenhouse gas, there is methane that is associated with the breeding of cattle and sheep and comes out of waste dumps, and of course the mining of coal and the mining of natural gas all leak that gas out. But then there's a large group of purely synthetic gases. I'll give you a few examples. The hydrofluorocarbons I mentioned a little while ago, those sit in your car air conditioner, and the air conditioners leak from time to time. You've got to top them up or replenish them. Our electrical distribution system around the world has as a insulator inside the step-down transformers that you see on the top of poles. These contain sulfur hexafluoride, purely synthetic gas, very powerful greenhouse gas as well. And there are other greenhouse gases that are associated with the very powerful ones associated with the production of all flat screen displays, and I can go on and on. There's over 50 of those that we measure now at these stations, the synthetic gases. And they are becoming a bigger and bigger fraction of the total greenhouse gases to be worried about. So one study that was published recently was looking at the 25 top purely synthetic greenhouse gases. And what has happened with the chlorofluorocarbons, they are purely synthetic, but their concentrations are going down in concert with the Montreal Protocol. But these other gases I mentioned, the hydrofluorocarbons, for example, and sulfur hexafluoride, these are increasing so that overall the total emissions of synthetic greenhouse gases, powerful ones, is going up, not down. So the gain that we got from the Montreal Protocol for lowering powerful greenhouse gases, the chlorofluorocarbons, the replacements for those chlorofluorocarbons their emissions are increasing very rapidly. And so overall, the total of all of these, the top 25 as we call them, are rising. And if we continue to have those rising going for the next few decades, then they are going to be a big player in forcing climate change. So it helps people see, well, industries, for example, to see at what level do they have to be concerned about releasing these powerful greenhouse gases, and what can be done to use those technologies without releasing the gases to the atmosphere. So, for example, in the manufacture of flat screen television displays, one could take the gas that's produced as a part of that production and simply either remove it by incineration, just suck it out of the factory and incinerate, or recycle it locally. They're expensive gases to be used in the manufacture, so they'd have to be recycled. It's not that they are bad intrinsically. It is that when they are released to the atmosphere in large amounts, that's when the problem arises. So it gives us a heads up, and it gives a heads up maybe 10, 20 years before it really gets serious to companies. And the smart thing that companies can do, and this happened with the chlorofluorocarbons and the big companies that were manufacturing those, they quickly in their research labs found alternatives and began to produce those alternatives, and the chemical industry as a result of that did not oppose the Montreal Protocol. They just said, we've got alternatives. So that's the idea. The idea is to work with industry, not against them and tell them they're evil, but rather here's a heads up. And to give that heads up a decade or two into the future, to say if we keep doing this, we need to recycle or we need to incinerate to remove them, and don't let them get out into the atmosphere.